Planet of the Fakes 4 Families, and Pigstar HH News. Protests. The 17 people who have died in the protests and riots so far. The widespread riots that have ensued after the killing of George Floyd have not only caused irreparable damage to property, but they've taken the lives of at least 17 Americans. Some of the victims were either former or current law enforcement or innocent bystanders trying to get home or protect their business. Those who have died so far during the riots. David Dorn, 77, died protecting Lee's pawn jewelry from looters. He was a retired St. Louis police officer who served the force for 38 years. He was shot in the torso by suspected rioters and died in the middle of the street. Barry Perkins, 29, died after he was run over by a FedEx tractor trailer in St. Louis. After being stopped by two men with guns, the driver feared for his life, honked the horn and sped away, unaware that Perkins was stuck on the converter dolly between the two trailers. David McAtee, 53, died from a gunshot wound while serving food at his restaurant, Yaya's Barbecue Shack, in Louisville. Someone in the crowd allegedly shot at National Guard officers during a protest. They returned fire, leaving McAtee dead shortly after midnight. Dorian Murrell, 18, was shot and killed by Tyler Newby, 29, in Indianapolis. Newby was approached by Murrell and 9 other men after Newby found a gas canister. The group asked him what he had found and pushed Newby to the ground. He pulled out his gun and shot Murrell, who was standing over him. Newby immediately turned himself in. Italia Kelly, 22, was shot and killed during a protest in Iowa. Her family said she was protesting peacefully before the demonstrations devolved to violence. The shooter has not been identified. Marquis M. Tousant, 23, was shot and killed in Iowa. Police found a semi-automatic handgun underneath Tousant's body. He was also seen in a video standing outside a jewelry store with a gun the same night he was killed. Calvin L. Horton Jr., 43, was fatally shot near the police department's 3rd precinct in Minneapolis. He is believed to be the first death since the protests began. James Scurlock, 22, was fatally shot by a bar owner during a physical altercation in Omaha. The shooter, Jake Gardner, was determined to have acted in self-defense. Victor Cazaeres, 27, was shot and killed in Chicago during a riot. A town spokesperson said the shootings were a result of outside agitators who were driving through Cicero seeking to cause trouble. Patrick Underwood, 53, was gunned down by drive-by shooters reportedly targeting uniformed officers. Underwood was an officer in the Department of Homeland Security's Federal Protective Service. He was standing guard outside the U.S. courthouse in Oakland. Jorge Gomez, 25, was shot and killed by Las Vegas police during riots near the state's federal courthouse. Gomez, wearing body armor and armed with 3 weapons, raised his gun toward officers before being fatally shot. Chris Beaty, 38, was reportedly shot and killed near his apartment building in Indianapolis, according to local media reports. Beaty was a former offensive lineman for Indiana University and a prominent businessman who owned several nightclubs. Marvin Francois, 50, was shot and killed in Kansas City by 3 black men who were trying to steal his Jeep. Francois was a photographer who was documenting the protests. He was shot 3 times and died at the scene. Not named yet. A 29-year-old Chicago man was shot and killed by outside agitators during riots. A male looter in his 20s was shot and killed by a gun store owner in Philadelphia. A Philadelphia man was killed trying to blow up an ATM. A Detroit man was shot and killed during protests. Local police are searching for a woman.